In this video, I'm going to show how to make a fairly simple transition between two scenes. So I'll start by uploading one of those two scenes. Even though I'm going to use them as backdrops, I'm not going to upload them as backdrops here on the right. I'm going to upload them as sprites, just because when you do that, you have more coding options in the long run. Backgrounds, the official backdrops in Scratch, don't have as many options for coding. So I'm going to use sprites as my backdrops. And I already took a couple of screenshots. So I'll go and get this picture I have here of a mine. And before I do much else, I'm just going to rename it. I'm going to call it mine, which will be more useful once I get the second image in. And I'm going to get my first image all set up, actually, before I worry too much about my second one. So I like it to be centered, and the way I do that is I click on motion on the left-hand side, and then I get the go to X and Y block, and I'm just going to put in 0 for X and 0 for Y, because that's the origin. I clicked on the block, and the image moved to the center of the screen. Okay, now that it's centered, I'm going to go to the costume tab over on the left-hand side, and I'm going to convert this into a vector image so that I'm able to expand it. I want it to cover the entire screen. All right, a little more. I'll just drag it in all directions. Okay, looks like the screen is pretty well covered, so now I'll go back to the coding section. And I'm just going to make it so that when the green flag is clicked, it is definitely centered. And before I get my second background that I want this mine to fade into, I'm just going to go ahead and demonstrate the ghost effect, which is what I'm going to use for fading. So in the looks category, the purple section of blocks, I can get the change color effect by 25 block. I'm not going to connect it up to the top blocks yet, but instead of changing the color, I'm going to change the ghost effect. You could probably change almost any of these effects to make an interesting transition, or you could combine a couple with each other by using multiple blocks. But for now, I'm just going to do the ghost effect. If I click on this block, you see it fades a little bit. I'm going to click a second time, it fades more. So if I clicked in enough times, it would fade all the way away, and if there was another scene behind it, that other scene would appear. To get it back to normal, I'm going to change the 25 to negative 25. I remember that I clicked twice, so I'm going to click twice now that I have the negative, and it gets back to normal. But since I'm going to be doing this a lot, and I don't want to keep switching the positive and negatives, I will just get a set. I think if I have a set ghost effect to 0 block, yeah, that will just get me back to my original image. And I'll leave this over to the side so that I can click on it every time I want my picture to go back to its original state. So instead of continually clicking on the change ghost effect by 25 block, I'm going to get a repeat block, and that is found under control, and it defaults to repeating 10 times. And so now if I click, I think this whole thing is just going to kind of disappear, but to show that happen, I'll click on the repeat block, and yeah, it didn't really look like it faded so much because it happened so quickly that it was more of a disappearing effect than a fading effect, and that might be okay for some purposes. But since I want to have a more gradual effect, I'm going to first set the ghost effect to 0. I clicked on this bottom button to get it, the bottom block to get it back to normal. And I'm going to throw a wait block into what's called this repeat loop here. It doesn't look like there's room for it, but if you just kind of drag it there, the repeat block actually expands. And if we wait a whole second in between the changing of the ghost effect, it's going to be very choppy. Actually, I can demonstrate that right now. So it kind of goes in flashes, and is set to do this 10 times, even though it seems it only needs to do it about 4 times to fade the whole thing away. Okay, I'm going to get it back by clicking on the set ghost effect, and this is just going to be a kind of a guess and check process between how much I want the ghost effect to change and how much time I want it to wait in between changes, and then how many times I need to repeat that in order for the whole mining scene to fade away. So I'll start by decreasing the number. So I'll have it change by less each time. So instead of 25, I'll do 12. And instead of waiting a whole second in between each time that it changes, I'm going to wait like not very long, 0.04 hundredths of a second. And it's changing less. It was at 25, now it's at 12. But I don't think I need it to go 10 times, even with less change. I'll put this down to 7. I'll click on it to see how this looks. Okay, that was a bit more of a fade. There's still I can still sense that it's there, so it didn't completely go away. Let me reset it by clicking on set. It was more of a fade, as I said, but I think we could slow it down even more. So I'll have it wait a little bit longer in between loops. 0.04, I'll change to 0.06, and I will have it repeat maybe like 15 times just to make sure the mine completely fades away. So let me test this out by clicking on it. It was pretty good. It completely faded away. I personally would like it to fade away a little more slowly. So maybe I'll change the effect. Instead of by 10, maybe I'll change it by 8, and I'll wait just a little longer in between loops. If I wait too long, it does get choppy. If I don't wait long enough, it goes faster than I want it to. So let's see if this works here. Pretty good. But again, I thought that was a little bit choppy. So instead of 0.08 seconds, I'll do 0.0. I'll go back to 0.06 seconds, but I'll change the effect each time by a little less. I'll take it from 8 down to 5. Maybe I'll make sure it repeats a couple extra times. So I'm going to have it repeat 17 times. Let me test this out. Okay, other than the fact that it didn't fade all the way away, that's about what I was aiming at. So I'll just have it repeat maybe 22 times instead of 17 times. And let's see. Okay, I'm happy with that, but people can make it faster, slower, smoother, more choppy by adjusting the numbers. And now that we can get it faded away, we need to have another scene behind it so that the second scene appears once this mine has faded away. So I'm going to upload my second scene. It is actually an image of the same area that has been reclaimed. And I'm going to go through a similar process at the beginning. I want this second image to be named descriptively. So I'll call it reclaimed. All right. And I want it to be centered. Again, this really isn't super necessary, but I like the idea of it being officially centered. So I'll put it at X is 0 and Y is 0. Click on it to snap it in place. And I need to do a couple things. I need to make this one go behind the mine, because I want the mine to appear in front. I don't want to see this reclaimed image at the very beginning. And I also want the reclaimed image to take up the whole screen. So I'm going to do that before I make it to see what I'm adjusting here. So just expand it in all directions. Just a little white at the top. Let's see here. I might just do a little more than I need to. It probably makes the image slightly less clear, but that's okay for my purposes. So now we have the reclaimed land image taking up the whole screen, and we need to kind of send it to the background. So I'm going to go to the purple look section. There's actually a send to back or front block. Go to. It's this one down here. And I want my reclaimed image to not go to the front layer, but to go to the back layer. So I'm going to hook this together, and I'm going to say that when the green flag is clicked, that's under event, so when the green flag is clicked, the reclaimed land will go to the back layer, but it will stay centered. So let me click the green flag. All right. Now that the green flag has been clicked, the reclaimed land is there, but it's in the back layer. I'm going to figure out how to get the mine to start fading. So I could, I suppose, just hook it up here again. So when the green flag is clicked, it will repeat 22 times, changing the ghost effect by 5, waiting for 6/100ths of a second, and then change the ghost effect by 5, wait 6/100ths of a second, and so on. That will happen 22 times. And let's just try it. So let me expand this to full screen, and I'll click the green flag and see if it fades. Okay, so that's really what I was going for with this effect. Like I said, if you want to test out other features, you can get a second change block from the purple section. You could maybe, I don't know, I've never tried mosaic. Maybe I could do mosaic change by 8 or something like that. Just drop that in there. So as it fades away with the ghost effect, some mosaic effect will also happen. I'm not sure how this will look, so I've never tried that before, but let's see. Oh, that was kind of weird. That's what mosaic does. It kind of makes mini copies of it. I didn't actually like that too much, so I'm going to get rid of the mosaic block. But there may be a combination that makes a pretty cool overall effect. All right, and this is actually something I thought of while teaching an ecosystems unit. We talked about mines and environmental effects of mines and how to mitigate them. So with that, I will end this video and continue on with similar topics in the near future.